Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. This episode is part of our Bookseller Lightning Talk series, in which booksellers present short talks on tech tools, organizational strategies, communication methods, or innovations they've made in their stores.
Welcome to our November Lightning Talk. I keep forgetting what month it is. I'm Emily Nason. I am the education specialist here at ABA, and I'm so thrilled to be here for this month's Lightning Talks. We have really great people, booksellers this month, and so this is going to be really fun. We're going to start off with Chris from Transom Bookshop. So Chris, I'm going to throw it over to you. And how this will work is Chris will give a presentation for around 10 minutes, and then we will have time for Q&A, and then we'll move on. All right, Chris.
Cool.
Perfect.
Great. Hear me okay? See my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. Check. Okay, awesome. So I am not going to go into full screen mode just so that I can see all of you guys, but you should be able to see my screen as I go through these slides. So Emily said I got about 2.5 hours for this, so I'm going to just try and get in just a little bit under that. This presentation is about how I DIY my P&L. And if you're into that, boy, are you in luck for the next 9 minutes and 40 seconds. So what I'm talking about is instead of using QuickBooks or something else like that, I build my own P&L out of a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. And I'll talk you through that process, but it's a way, if you're going to do this, you kind of got to want to do it. I think it's pretty turnkey. I've been doing this for a while now, for 3 years, and I now it doesn't take much time at all, and I kind of like it. But you kind of got to want to get in there and get your hands dirty. You should, in order to do it, you should be able to export all of your expenses, your costs, directly from your bank accounts, your credit cards. If you're the kind of person who's spending a lot of cash and like taking photos of receipts and stuff, this probably isn't your solution. You could make it work, but you might not get any juice for the squeeze. You should know your way around Excel and Google, just basic formulas, sort, filter, just like the basic stuff. And if you can, I do all the heavy lifting here. It takes me about an hour per quarter to do this. And then at the end of the year, when I'm getting all my taxes and stuff together, it takes me about 2 hours just to do a full year. What you get is a little bit more transparent and predictable. So you can get a peek into what's going on. I found a couple of like recurring expenses that I didn't really know about. And so I went in and canceled those things. You can spot fraud when you get in there yourself and you're seeing the names of all of these things. And it gives you a little bit more control over your P&L, which I like a lot because I'm that kind of guy. There's 3 steps. All of my stuff I do in Chase Business. So I export my credit card, I export my bank account information into a spreadsheet. I copy and paste that into the expenses sheet on this document, which I'll show you, clean up the data a little bit. And then you jump to the top sheet, which I've already created for you as a template. And you can see the top sheet does very simply, in every row, you have an expense or an expense category or expense type. In this case, I'm highlighting Penguin Random House because that's the example I'm going to use. In every column, it's a month. It sums it all up. It sums it up at the bottom of the screen. If you do all the formulas right, bing, bang, boom, you get your net profits at the bottom left. Kind of awesome. Now, trust me, this makes sense when I talk through it. This in the white box is the formula. This is the magic formula that drives all the action. It's really like the only majorly custom thing in this spreadsheet. What it's saying, this is a sum ifs formula. It says, hey, go to the expenses tab. Pull me all of the expenses that meet these 2 criteria. 1, it matches the date at the top of this column. And 2, it matches the name of the expense at the far left of this row. All right. I'm going to show you a few examples of how that works. I'm keeping this thing here so you guys can copy and paste that later. I'm going to share 3 examples. 1 where it works super easy, 1 where it works a little bit less easy, and 1 where it's sort of extra medium. So let's go ahead and take a look. You should be able to see my spreadsheet now. Emily, do you see my spreadsheet? Great. So this is the top sheet. I hit randomize on all the numbers. So these are not my actual revenue and expenses numbers. It probably totals up to like negative $3 million or something weird, which I hope is not the case. So for this, all I've put in here right now is I put in some manual numbers in my sales so you can see it tally up at the bottom. But I've got gross sales by section. I have my cost of goods sold. I've got my operating expenses, my staff personnel wages, and then at the bottom, I've got my subtotals. So I'm going to go through 3 examples. First one is this where it says Penguin Random House. You can see I've got that formula that I just showed you. I've got it here in this cell. And you might be saying to yourself, Chris, if you have the formula in there, why isn't it working? Thanks for asking. So here it does two things. It's looking for January and it's looking for Penguin Random House in the expenses sheet, which I'm going to go to now. I'm going to go here. I'm going to sort this, and I'm going through this quickly, but I'm going to sort this. These are all the expenses I exported from my Chase bank accounts and credit cards. I cleaned them up a little bit so that the columns were all right. I'm going to sort this by the name of the vendor. And I happen to know that Penguin Random House in this spreadsheet does not come up as Penguin Random House. Every time they run my credit card, it says this, PRH Books, and then the phone number there. So I'm just going to actually take this name. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to the top sheet. And then I'm just going to paste it here. So instead of having it say literally Penguin Random House, I'm going to paste that name in here. And it automatically tallies up the entire year. So it went into the expenses sheet. It said, give me all the expenses that match this company's name for this specific month. And it broke it down month by month. And then in this cell here, it totals up that row. I could do this for every one of these. I've actually already done it. So Bookazine is one of the expenses. Book Depot is one of the expenses. And so as I go into the expenses sheet, it's looking for that specific name. There's a slightly more difficult version here, which is Verizon. The way it comes through my expenses is very annoying. Every month they bill me the same exact amount from the same vendor, but the name is a little bit different. Each name has like a weird sort of transaction number at the end of it. So instead of me copying and pasting this, I'm going to go the other way around, which is, this is called Verizon Files. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to rename. So again, I've sorted this by Verizon. I know these are all of the Verizon charges on my card for the year. There should be 10 of them to date. And I'm just going to paste over that. I'm going to paste over the name Verizon Fios. And you'll see, when I go back to the top sheet, it has now tallied all of that up, 88, 88, 88, 88, all the way across. So I can either change the name in the expenses sheet or change the name on the top sheet. Last example, which is slightly more complicated. You see here, I've got this operating expenses by vendor, like Verizon, or by category. So I buy coffee from way too many cafes for me to itemize it across this entire sheet. So I'm just going to do this by category, which is food and drink. I go to my expenses, and you can see I'm going to sort by category now. There we go. So a ton of different vendors for food and drink. I really don't want to itemize all of these. I just want to tell my accountant I spent $14 million on coffee this year. So I'm going to tally all of these up. The difference here is instead of it looking in column C for the name of the vendor, I'm telling the magic formula to look in column D for the category. So we're going to go back. I'm going to go here. So I'm here in this row here. Let me kill the search. I'm in this row for food and drink. So here, this is where it gets fun. I'm saying, okay, now go to the expenses sheet, get me everything from column E, add it all up if it meets the criteria from this column C, and if the thing in column C matches food and drink. Well, it's not column C anymore, it's column D because it is the category. Boom. I'm going to copy this across. And then you'll see I'm even going to copy and paste this down here for these other category names, travel and parking, repair and maintenance. I do a lot of Home Depot shopping. And so you'll see it'll tally all of that up here. And again, if I copy these across, I'm changing that formula and it's pulling all of those numbers by category. Down here at the bottom, you can see it's automatically tallying all of these. It's taking all my gross sales, my staff personnel costs, my cost of goods sold, my operating costs, and then it's tallying up my net profits of a negative $1.1 million. Luckily, not the case. Again, I've randomized the numbers. So that's how the sheet works. So I put the steps here again. This is what I'm just telling you what I already told you. It's a start. I start with the demo sheet, export my accounts, put them in the expenses sheet, clean them up, tidy up the formulas on the top sheet. Hopefully it does all the work for you. Behold the glory of it. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to me because I do this thing all the time. That's it. I think that was 9.5 minutes. What do you say? Any questions?
Awesome. That was so great, Chris. You actually made me a little less afraid of spreadsheets.
Happy to hear that. if nothing else, you can just steal this formula and you can use it in a lot of different sheets. This multiple sum ifs, you're going to feel like an engineer. It's really fun.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
I am somebody who this doesn't come naturally to. And so it feels overwhelming and daunting to have it this, to use this. Are you innately good at this? Or because for me, I look at this and I think, oh my gosh, I would spend so much time doing this that I wouldn't be able to accomplish all the other things I need to do. Can you comment on that, or like give somebody like me some courage?
I mean, you can duplicate the spreadsheet for yourself. And if you're comfortable, the only thing that takes a little bit of manual effort is when you export your accounts. So if you export your credit card and your bank accounts and you put them into a single sheet, you just have to tidy that up so that, like, all of the numbers are in one, all of the descriptions are in another column. And that's just manually moving things around a little bit. After that, the formulas are all here and you're really just changing the names of things. So the hope is that you're actually not touching these formulas. I showed you how to change this category formula, but now it's in here. So it already is looking, everything under this is looking by category. So the hope is you wouldn't actually have to do the nuts and bolts things that I showed you. You would have to, whoops, I just edited that by accident. All you would have to really do is tidy up your expenses in this sheet. If you don't want to do that, I mean, I think that's what like QuickBooks and those kind of things are for. I just tend to like to get into, kind of get dirty in these things. But it's worth a try. It doesn't cost nothing, right? Duplicate the spreadsheet and go in there, drop your expenses in and see if it works. And if it doesn't, just close your laptop real fast and run away.
I agree, Jen. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was amazing.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA website at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!